Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa Trains has resumed some of its operations today, this after nearly 3 months of lockdown. The trains will now have to take a limited number of people so that people do observe social distancing. Let's look at the safety of passengers and how Prasa then will make this a priority as trains resume. We're joined by Ms. Nosipho Damasane, the Chief Executive Officer at Prasa Rail. Ms. Damasane, thank you so much for your time and welcome back, of course, and apologies for the technical glitch a bit earlier on. But I know that at this time, as you do resume with operations in terms of metro rails and trains, safety and precautions will be top of the agenda. As of course today was D-Day in terms of just consuming and resuming with those trains. How is it looking so far?
We actually had a very interesting start in the morning because we did get some instances of vandalism on the land that we prepared, but we've overcome those. We started the service. We're operating at 15% of capacity because of safety and naturally because we wouldn't want our people to be overcrowded. So we started off, we have marked the trains properly for social distancing inside of the trains as well as at the stations. We sanitize everyone who enter the stations and our trains and when they leave. And we're also focusing very much on making sure that everybody who comes to the station actually wears a mask. That's the precautions we take. We actually have, we don't do screening, but that's an effort that we're actually doing. We only screen passengers if we suspect that there's already symptoms, as a rule in terms of the regulations as well. But what we do is that we have isolation rooms where we can keep them and test their temperatures at that point, either advise people to either go home so that they can test, alternatively make contact with the health officials, depending on where the situation is at.
Right. Now, we're talking about passengers for now, and we'll get into the drivers as well as the staff members in just a moment. But I also understand that, according to your statement, you have advised passengers who may not be feeling well not to use the trains at all.
Yes. Yes, we've done that.
Right. Okay. So with that being said, then what about your drivers as well as your staff members, Ms. Damasane? I mean, have you had any reported cases of any of your staff members who have tested positive? And what are the measures then are you taking right now with regards to staff and drivers?
We're actually encouraging people not to come to work at all if they're not feeling well. We have a full medical process that we follow with our clinics to actually make sure that our drivers who come to work are actually not sick. So we haven't actually had a situation. We have situations where people have been positive, but not at work per se.
All right.
On the train drivers. So this morning we started off with people who were fully screened.
Right. Will you enforce those testing or screenings when it comes to your staff members and drivers?
They're part of our SOPs. So it's part of the process.
Right. We spoke about social distancing earlier on, just in terms of passengers, but I also understand that while that is occurring in terms of the limited number of passengers who can use the trains, you also have a limited number of lines that will be operating nationally. How many are those?
We actually have 4 currently. We have one in Pretoria, Pietermaritzburg, which is Gauteng. We have one Berlin, East London, one Port Elizabeth, Hoedendijk, and one in Cape Town for Cape Town Retreat. And all the operations have started off very well today. We actually had a bit of a glitch only here in Johannesburg with a 40-minute delay because of the cable theft that actually happened. And we also had a bit of delay in East London, which we have dealt with in terms of the afternoon shift that we are going into now at 2 o'clock. We also operate only at peak hours, which is 5 in the morning until 9 and 3 until 7 in the evenings.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that was going to be my next question in terms of operating time. Why did you take that decision to only operate within peak times?
It's usually better when you start with your peak hours, which is where the activity is happening, people going to work. And then as we learn the lessons from it, we begin to roll the service. And also, you must remember, we align ourselves to the regulations that are actually driven by the country from a COVID perspective.
All right, then that's where we leave it. Thank you so much. That's the Chief Executive Officer of Prasa Rail, Ms. Nosipho Damasane.